I am here to speak on goal setting for 2024. And I strongly believe that goals are dreams that have been articulated, given expression. And my hope is that by sharing a little of my story, I can explain my approach that has worked for me for so very long. And let me start by giving you a little bit of a background. I was born and raised in the Caribbean twin island state of Trinidad and Tobago, and my father was in construction in the boom years. My mom was a seamstress who worked in different factories, and eventually she was bitten by the entrepreneurial bug and opened her own businesses where she first sewed and then she started in catering. My parents encouraged me to fly, to reach for everything. And even as a child, and even today, my dad has this thing that he says, go get it. However, in my personal and business journey, I hit a few snags because I needed to find out who I was and where I was in the grand scheme of things to be able to decide where I wanted to be and where I was and who I wanted to become. Simply put, when I started in business, I was an unprepared entrepreneur running towards an undefined goal. And you can't just go with the flow, as you know, and expect everything to happen and expect to land on your goals. So imagine someone with no knowledge of surfing, for example, picking up a surfboard, running into the ocean. That was me trying to start business. And as they say in the world of surfing, I was totally wiped out. The goal is to stay on your feet and not crash. I was crashing. And naturally, I had to learn to set goals for my life, an actual something to work towards, and it needed to be comprehensively articulated. So, in other words, my goals could not be vague and like a fairy tale. As I progressed in life, I never really liked using formal goal setting tools that I learned during my studies, simply because I think we as individuals could sometimes try to fit our lives into models rather than adapt the model to our reality. However, I do have a caveat. I refer to the SMART goal setting method from time to time. And the SMART model played a supporting role in keeping me focused, first in education, then in career, and at times in business when appropriate. And just as a reminder, we know that SMART is an acronym for goals having the values or the qualities of being specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and of course, timely. So, bearing that in mind, I approached things a little differently when it came to goal setting. I found that I had a passion for certain things, and so my belief system guided me to set goals in line with what I felt for my personal life as well as in business. Now, we all know feelings aren't specific or measurable. And the size of my overall vision would some would say wasn't necessarily attainable either. And God knows I have very little control over the timing for these grand dreams. However, many of us think that, goals are not always realistic. When I try to apply smart models like this or goal setting models to my not so concrete dreams, I found that to be quite a challenge. I personally believe that we all need to have goals, whether in business or for your personal life. And when the entrepreneurial bug bites you, as I say, we need to set business goals even more so. Many here may have set and achieved goals at one time or another, and some goals we may have missed. The thing is, life is not a linear journey, neither is business. So if you have a dream, which I will call the big goal, then you know that trying to achieve that is like riding waves. If you know anything about surfing, you also know that timing is key to catching the right wave, the ultimate surfer's dream. So let's start by talking a little bit about timing. I have a dream is not just something Martin Luther King said, and we all make that statement. I have, and I continue to make that statement. And as I mentioned earlier, I got a vision and I wanted so badly to execute what I saw and wanted that to be my end goal. Much like a surfer who knows the waves are coming, he waxes his board, he gets down to the water, he suits up, and he waits for the swells. I had to do the relevant preparations to be able to accept the opportunities, the swells, which I anticipated. And for some goals, my timing was perfect. But for some, I failed, guys, miserably. And then there were those that fell in the in-between places, not a failure, but not a maximized opportunity. In business, we talk about opportunity cost. Well, the opportunity cost of not being prepared for some of the things that came my way was the opportunity itself. I sometimes had to give up things to be ready to catch the waves of opportunity that presented themselves even. That something may have been time with friends or loved ones or leisure time, sometimes even another opportunity. As I learned from experience, it is also possible that trying to aim for the big opportunity, which you may not be ready for, could cause you to miss the smaller ones that you could have achieved. My point here is I had to be prepared. This is to stick to the plans, wherever possible, remain flexible, but I had to have a plan. The order of your steps and mine as we prepare is also key. So, have you ever noticed that, you meet a lot of obstacles, what I like to call the buts on your way to your goals? I want to share a story with you about a TikToker. I waste a lot of my time on TikTok. I tell myself this is social media marketing research, but I'm always on TikTok. And it paid off one day. I saw this young lady who had a viral video, 300 to 400 viewers was her norm. She went to 10,000. And whatever she was selling, her product, she got so many orders. Demand was sky high. She was not ready for it, but she quickly adjusted, ordered stock, and started fulfilling these orders. And then she made the key mistake of thinking that demand is going to continue based on that one viral video. And of course, she ordered more inventory, had to keep it on hand because nothing happened. And so here she is on social media asking, would somebody please buy this? And she's sharing her story and all that. What she failed to do is examine the drivers of that demand. So basically, go back to that video, see what happened there, what factors influenced the viewers to increase, and then try to replicate that as much as possible. That would drive her demand. That would help her to reach the goals. So there has to be background preparation. I saw the vision that I wanted to, execute. I saw the blessing it would bring to many. I knew the path was not going to be clear, and it was further muddied by the many buts, the many obstacles in the way. And even as I tried my best, just like this TikToker did, to be prepared, my buts were a little bit different. They sounded like this. but you don't have money, but you don't have the skills, but you need a team, or but the market isn't ready for this, but you have no experience. And the best one yet, but you are from a small island, no one knows you. And that was like personal. But I saw the end goal and I had to clear the path before me first in my mind and then set the markers and take the steps towards achieving the goal in spite of the barriers I saw. So my mantra is write the vision and make it plain. Set the smaller goals, which I call the markers, that will lead you through the obstacles, the buts, as you head towards your ultimate goal. Obstacles you may face on the way to your big wave, well, maybe market conditions, lack of adequate financing, and of course, as we spoke about, support systems, just to name a few. However, you are not the first and certainly won't be the last to face those barriers. What do? You look for examples of others in your niche market. Learn from them, and if possible, seek mentoring from them. I got help. I hired a personal consultant. And then I prayed for guidance and miracles, because anything to overcome the buts, anything to move past the obstacles. The principal thing is to use wisdom when assessing your obstacles. Have strategic contingency plans in place in the event you meet an immovable object. And my advice to you is, when you do, climb it or dive if you have to, but certainly keep moving. So I believed it was possible. I saw a need in the market not being met, and I saw the opportunity to bring hope to many who were being sidelined. I did the numbers, tested the market, obtained the formal training. In short, I did all that I could do to circumvent the buts as much as humanly possible. Not perfectly. It's called risk mitigation and avoidance. That's the technical name. How much of this you do depends on your risk appetite. Guys, I have a healthy risk appetite. True story. I was believed I could fly like Batgirl, and I jumped off my parents' ground floor balcony. Thank God it was ground level, right? How large your goals are depend on your freedom to dream big, and also on the level of risk you are willing to assume. And that's entirely up to you. But, and this is a good but, know that it's possible. It helps to know what I call the characteristics of high potential ventures. Simply put, projects with a high probability of success. Examine your market existence issues. The economics of the venture. Can this be profitable? Your harvest issues, because you're not going to stay in business for long. So is there an exit strategy that leaves me in good stead or better? You may want to switch up in the middle of this one venture. Competitive advantage issues. Who's already in the market? How do I stack up against them? Your management team issues. So very important. Who shares my vision, my drive? Who has the skill set I need? Strategic differentiation. How can I be a successful player in the market and not just another cookie cutter? Do I have the tools and the team to execute? Most important, become a learning individual. Always improving self and venture, but staying true to your core vision. There is room for your vision and vision. So I encourage you to wax the board, scan the ocean, check the weather, get a partner to spot you, insulate your investment with the appropriate contingency plan. because guess what? It is possible. And as I shared earlier, I have a close personal relationship with risk. So I took my fears, my emotions, my doubts, along with my faith, my knowledge, my experience and skills, and I waded in. Notice I took everything with me. It's okay to be positive that you can achieve the goal, but your fears can be red flags that stop you from making mistakes. Your doubts can be speed bumps, which make you slow down and proceed with caution. And your emotions tell you that you're alive, that this is real. And they can also be an important intuitive signal. In short, your goals need all of you. I would like to read an excerpt from a book called New Venture Creation, and it's written by Stephen Spinelli Jr. and Robert J. Adams Jr. And it says, to effectively screen an opportunity, there must be a focus on possible positive and negative outcomes if pursued. The screening process should not begin with strategy, financial and spreadsheet analysis, or estimations of how much the business is worth and who will own what shares. These starting points and others usually place the cart before the horse. Also, many entrepreneurs who start businesses, particularly those for whom the ventures are their first, like myself initially, ran out of cash faster than they bring in customers and profitable sales. So there are lots of reasons why this happens, says the authors, but one thing is certain. These entrepreneurs have not focused on the right opportunity, end quote. What I like about this excerpt is that the authors point towards focusing on the right opportunity, which will bring you a step closer towards achieving your goals. There's a bigger picture, if you will. It's about seeing the opportunity to articulate your dream, your goal, and being prepared to grasp it, even if you may not be perfectly prepared. Many entrepreneurs miss the opportunities because they were busy drafting strategies and bylaws for the operation. In conclusion, as you go into deeper waters, two things can happen. You can catch a perfect wave, big opportunity in your hands, you're ready, goal met, or a lot of little waves, which will be smaller goals that take you to your ultimate goal. But you will achieve your goals. I caught a small wave at first. The ride was a short one. I hit one of the goals I intended to, that is, Du Soleil Legacy Consultants, which is my baby, became a registered business. And this motivated me to keep going. But this was just one wave, one goal with many more to come. And my parents still wonder about my decisions, right? But you don't always have perfect support. However, there is a bigger ocean, bigger waves, bigger dreams, bigger goals. But the approach would be the same. I prepare while looking for the opportunities. I keep them in front of me. I recognize the obstacles and I work to mitigate or even avoid them. And I also, very importantly, I also keep believing in my why. And I wade in with my vision, my brand of the vision that I have, of what I have to offer. Turning your dreams into legacies is the goal at Du Soleil Legacy Consultants. And as I said, that's my baby. And besides being a dreamer, I've been in retail and commercial business banking for 28 years. And in that time, I became a chartered banker. And I saw many people come in who have lost their way because they've taken their focus off their dreams. I also find that biblical principles are key to success in leadership and business. So I decided to share my understanding of that and my application of these principles with the world in my book that I'm so very proud of, another goal that I met, called David, A Handbook on Leadership. And shameless plug, it's available on Amazon. So I believe wholeheartedly that dreams are the beginning of legacies when they are directed and executed well. And it's never too late to find clarity for the future. And that's the why of Du Soleil. And as a way of saying thank you for your presence here today, I am offering the entrepreneurial strategy course free of charge to anyone who wants to book a free, two frees, discovery call consultation with Du Soleil Legacy Consultants. So all you need to do is send me an email and in the subject, put book me as, and I will respond and email you the information accordingly. So Obehi, on that note, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to share my approach to goal setting for 2024. I want to thank my lovely audience for being present and listening intently. And I want you to remember to remain adaptable. God bless you all in your business endeavors. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Lenore. That has been really very powerful. I appreciate the sharing. Can you hear me? Can you all of you hear me? I don't know, Mama.
Yes.
All right,
Yes,
perfect.
We can. Yes, we can.
Perfect. At least it's nothing as bad as I'm talking, thinking that people are hearing me, but I'm just talking to myself. All right, I want to thank you again, sister. That has really been very inspiring. You talked about something very important in the beginning of your presentation. Of course, throughout the presentation, actually, to be very fair. But there was something that I actually wrote down that I needed a kind of clarity on. And that is actually about clarity. In that you were saying that it is not always clear in the beginning, but you should keep going. I love that very much. That is actually very motivating for me, and I believe it should be the same for our viewer too. In that you don't have all the cards stuck out in front of you in the beginning, especially, but if you are waiting to see all the cards stuck out in front of you, everything already clear, knowing that if you just take this study is what's going to happen, that means you are looking for the green light. And like we know, all the lights are never going to be green. So I don't know if you want to spend more time there on what you mean by that we don't always have everything clear in the beginning, but we should keep going. Help us with that, please.
Absolutely, Obehi. So I'm going to have to lean on what I know best, and that is my relationship with God, my spirituality. And the word speaks about not having clarity, seeing things, in a shadow, if you will. When we look at ourselves from our own perspective, we can't see ourselves. If you ever think about it, if you're standing and you're not in front of a mirror, you are not going to see what you look like, or a camera, who you are. But when you are reflected in that mirror, then you start knowing where you can make changes. You could fix this. You could sound differently, look better. You change your perspective. When it comes to business, when it comes to even setting your own personal goals, we know what brings us joy, what makes us feel good, what we do for others that not only blesses them, but blesses us. And a lot of the times, what we need to do in business, or where we want to go as entrepreneurs, even in the corporate world, is tied up in what we like to do. What we study is what we like to do. We're interested in this field or whatever, what have you. When it comes to setting goals, clarity is never really there, but there's this seed that is in you that you need to follow. And as you start walking towards that, things begin to fall into place. Your steps are ordered, as I like to say. Let's be practical. If you wanted to study, actually, I'm going to tell you a story because that's what we're here for. When I started looking at doing an MBA program, I was passionate about finance and passionate about, the investment side of it and the wealth management side of it. And that was my goal. And then I started looking at the electives and the coursework and found that there was venture creation, there, things that were so creative, bringing all of me to that. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try one of those courses, but I'm sticking to my risk management and all the things that I like. Can I tell you that I dropped the core things that I thought I wanted to do? I dropped them so fast because I started walking in the direction that I intuitively knew was where I needed to be. Clarity came while moving towards the goal, while trying to attain something that I thought I needed, but that presented the opportunity for redirection. So I had two choices. Stick to this plan that I had where I was not really feeling that passion, that draw, or go in the direction that really pulled on every aspect of my being. And that move, that change, that pivot, as Nicole spoke about, brought me into a space that allowed me to shine, allowed me to bring all of myself and to meet, to bless others and be blessed by blessing others. So, clarity is never really clear. Let's be real about it. It's a word that we use, but we don't exactly know what it looks like until we're in a space, and then hindsight becomes 2020. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. Thank you so much for that. But that is also okay. I need to put myself. So that is also very interesting in that it helps us. It helps us to understand that we should not be afraid now that we don't have all the cards stuck out in front of us. That we need to grow. We need to move on. I remember, for example, in the beginning of Obehi podcast, I spent a lot of time talking about self-improvement. In fact, I still do that today, actually, as a matter of fact, because when we talk of storytelling, we are basically in that we are telling people to learn how to leverage the power of storytelling, which means something that you have not know how to do before, you can learn how to do it today. It's not that you don't really know about storytelling, because since childhood we have all been doing storytelling. We have all been telling story. For example, I have a son of 6 years. Every evening he wants to go to bed. He wants me to tell him his story. But of course, the story I'm telling my son is different from the story that we are talking about in business area. It doesn't mean that for him storytelling is new. There is nothing new in the idea itself of storytelling. But of course, learning how to tell story professionally is a completely different ball game altogether. So learning, improving, all these are things that we continue to do in life, because we are not born with all the capacity that we need to be able to navigate life. Life sometimes is really complex. There is no need pretending about that. So we need to learn how to navigate it. Yesterday, for example, I was interviewing a person, and the conversation was, I don't want to say heavy, but it was pretty challenging, but very important conversation to handle, because we're talking about suicide rate among young people, which was the statistic that was available for really staggering. So we were sort of talking about young people. Why do they commit suicide? Why did they come to the point of deciding to take their life? This is not acceptable. So a number of times I sort of repeated to my guests that at least in African context, in African reality, at least the one that I know, you are not supposed to look at life as if it belongs to you alone. Life is something to be shared. It belongs to all of us. You are sharing in it. So you shouldn't just decide that you want to end it today. That you are supposed to fight for life. life is not treating you well today, don't give it up. Keep on fighting for it, because you need to have life. Life is important. No matter what happens, you just cannot say, oh, no, let me just end it here. No, it's not a video game. So most of this skill also, we also need to learning how to navigate life. I was making reference to of the game that we used to play at home. Looking for instance, how you that most of the thing that we are learning today in this society with highly computerized world, we have learned them in our culture. Looking at Africa again, because that is what I know better. Talking for instance about focus, how to be focused, how to aim, how to have an objective and remain with that objective for a certain period of time. This was what we did as children, playing around in the local bush. So I was making reference to her saying, for example, you have as a little child, you have a catapult with you, which of course you have built along with other children. Therefore, we are already talking about collaboration, because you couldn't do everything on your own. You need to work with other children to learn how to create your catapult. Now, after you have made your catapult, you need to go with the children into the local bush to hunt for birds. These birds are usually very small, very tiny. And sometimes they are sitting on top of a tree, and the tree is very tall. The small bird is sitting on a tall tree. Now, how do you bring that bird down and hold it in your hands if you are not talking about focus here? Because the child now need to learn how to aim at a little bird up in the sky. You bring it down to your hands. So these tools were available for us to learn how to understand what is called objective, how to focus, how to understand life, how to work with others, how to build. We even did houses, monk houses. We even do monk marriages. You are a little kid, now you have a wife, you have kids. Sometimes the kids are just a piece of wood, So what I'm saying, in essence, is that we need to learn how to live. We need to learn most of these tools on how to navigate life. And all these things are already baked into the culture that we have. So we don't need to go away from all this culture and just take only technology, because technology alone, it's not big enough to be able to explain the complexity of life. Is complex. So we need to have the basis so that we can start. So I don't know if I sort of move away a little bit from there, but it was very important for me.
I just wanted to actually pull on something you said, and that's about the things that we learn in our childhood, how we can bring them to our present adult experience. And collaboration, goal setting, focus, all these things. I really do want to endorse that, because as I told in my story, my parents, created that space for me. And yes, flying like Batgirl was not a good idea, but it did teach me to dream. It did teach me to try things. I'm still here, nothing broken, nothing burnt, right? So dreaming, childhood is important. Just wanted to add that. It was excellent, Obehi. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you, sister. I appreciate you. I appreciate also the value that you shared here.
Obehi, my final message would be that you should not be afraid of taking that first step. Just as Elihu said a short while ago, you should not be afraid to dream. You should not be afraid to try to be your authentic self, or to be your authentic self in this world, because your voice, your frequency, your passion, what God instilled in you is uniquely you. That is your unique selling proposition. And when you bring this to the fore, when you bring all of you, fears and faith, doubts and strengths, you bring something that someone else is waiting for. Do not deny the public. And in that respect, Dusele Legacy Consultants is here to help you craft your uniqueness, your unique voice, and bring everything that you are out and to serve the people. Reach out to us, and you go through Obehi, or you can just WhatsApp me, email, whatever way you can. My information will be in the chat.
All right. Yeah, we've got you. We've got you. So those who are interested in learning more with you definitely should be able to reach out to you because you have added incredible value here. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, sister.